Welcome, everyone. Today we are talking about how your success can be an inspiration for others. And this is something that, we know all too well dealing with as many clients as we have. How many clients are you holding right now, Tom?
Right at 38, last time I checked.
38. So I'm currently sitting at 17 active clients. And had some people that have stopped, because they have decided that they weren't doing well enough typically, or they weren't following the plan, or for whatever reason. Typically it's, I think I can do it on my own now. But more often than not, it seems like it's been, I just can't seem to do it right. I don't, do you hear a lot of that from clients that you have? They quit
sure.
for that reason?
Clients at all levels. I mean, you have, times of self-doubt, especially the closer they get to a show if they're competitive bodybuilding, physique athletes. I got off a phone call this morning. Guy was like, it's very easy to get back to and compare yourself to what other people are looking like or your success to someone else's.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's where a lot of people do a lot more self-sabotage and damage to themselves by being so focused with that instead of being focused on being their best self.
Yeah, exactly. And, I have a very recent client that has been working with me for quite a few months, and she's done unbelievable. Now, there have been some bumps in the road. There have been some speed bumps, but ultimately saw great success. And sometimes we're our own worst critic, and we know that all too well.
Oh yeah.
We typically work out and we measure ourselves against other people sometimes, and you have to do that especially because of what you do as a bodybuilder. Is you specifically have to measure yourself to some extent. However, that can have a negative turn because, especially in men's physique, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
That measuring yourself against somebody else isn't always the way to go, because how you view it might not be how the current judges view it, and might not be how what they're looking for, particularly depending on what state or what region or whatever it is,
what level show it is.
Like, they may be looking for something different. And we were talking, I think it was last week, about when you became the national champion last year. What really made you stand out in my mind, like watching the clips of you competing, was your level of confidence when you came into that. And so physically, did you measure up better than everybody else on stage? Sure. How many competitors were there in that competition?
Over 280.
Over 280 competitors. So, being that the industry is so subjective, especially with the judging, it wouldn't have been a far reach to say that there was at least one or two guys out of 280 that stood toe to toe with you on stage, right?
Sure, yeah.
However, if you watch, and we'll put the link to the clip down in the description, so you guys can go watch. When you came out on stage, it was the level of confidence, in my mind, that kept you, when they moved you to the center, kept you there. Is because, and it wasn't because you thought you measured up to everybody, it's because you left no doubt in your mind. You ate all the meals, and you've said this on another podcast we did. You ate all the meals, you did all the workouts, followed all the protocols in prep, listened to your coach, you peaked at the right time, he knew your body, you did everything perfect. And so when you were able to walk out there, your success was determined here before you stepped out. Physically, your coach had you right where you needed to be. You did all the steps that Dom put you there with. But ultimately, the demeanor that you represented, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is what kept you in the center. Physically, of course, I think you stood up above everybody else. But even the announcers were like, he knows it.
Oh yeah,
He knows
you can even
it.
see in the video before they call us over to the line, the head nod, and I didn't even realize that. Like, it kind of looks a little arrogant, to be honest, looking back. But going into this, because I knew how well I executed this prep, to the best of my ability, and literally left no stone unturned. It elicited such great confidence, and just there was no anxiety going into it when I was on stage. And at that point in the video that we're going to link below, it's after I had won my pro card too.
Yeah.
So that's what I had really set out to do. Whatever happened from that point forward was just, icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I just went into that knowing as like I'm definitely at my best. I was very present for the first time at a national show. Like, I can't even recall being on stage in any previous national shows because I was just filled with anxiety.
Yeah.
It just was a blur, but I just can recall that so perfectly and acutely. But that was the reason why. And that just goes back to we have our self-doubts, but a lot of that anxiety comes when we know we have failed. When we know we didn't execute on the plan or had a bad day, or, something came up and it was out of our control, but we allowed that to derail us even more.
Yeah, and completely dictate how you were going to, I always tell a lot of my clients, look, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's probably one of the things that I've told almost every client I've ever had is that life happened. And it's about, we have a plan in place, but it's also, use me when something is thrown off. I have a new client that just started with me this month, and she just completely blew her knee doing something that more than likely she probably
Before
should
even
have
starting,
known.
right?
Yeah, but she had been on plan for 3 days.
Oh man.
And so, but she's still working to try and do it. And the first thing she did was contact me. And that, trying your best makes all the difference. And that is kind of what we're going into as far as how your success can be such an inspiration for everybody else. So kind of getting back to the client I was talking about previously, she's definitely, life happens, right? There have been some things that happened in our time working together. She's been very upfront and honest with me about it, and very good at communicating that. She's harder on herself, has been harder on herself than she ever really should be. And there have been times that I've been kind of hard on her because there was some instances that it's like, what are you doing? Why are you sabotaging yourself? Why are you sabotaging your success? However, when I look back at all of the documents that I took, all the notes that I took, not one time did she ever slip backwards. Now, she may not have been pushing forwards, but she never completely fell backwards. And when I posted her success story, I had more people reach out to me than any other success story that I've ever done. And because she saw such great success, and she has become that inspiration for other people, because a new client that I had that started with me this month was referred by her. And the first thing she said to me in our consultation, I know she's a picky eater. And if you can help her, I know you can help me. And she's right. She's a picky eater. And it was very challenging at times. But ultimately, we got her to a goal that she, at the beginning, I would say she probably never expected in the short amount of time we worked together. But it was a long road, and I'm sure it felt that way at times. But ultimately, she did so well, and I was so proud of the success that she had. But now she's that inspiration. So it's important to know when you're on your journey that there's never a point that you should compare your success to somebody else's. Because you don't know, you might be going through something in your life that might relate to that person. Even if it's just one, it might relate so well to that one person that they go, well, they can do it and they're going through that, I know. And I mean, I'm sure you had, being that you coach mainly athletes, I'm sure that that's like a constant battle to some extent, being that, like we said, in that arena, you were always comparing yourself. I mean, when we went to the Charlotte Pro, and I walked backstage. When I walked backstage, you're like, what do you think? I was like, smells like spray tan and insecurities back here, because it does. Like, everybody's just like constantly side-eyeing each other, and they're looking, and it's the ones that
were the most calm,
were the
and
most
stoic,
yes,
and still in their sweats,
laser
had
focused.
their headphones
yes.
in their own world.
Isn't that how you have to be before you step on stage? Like,
but that comes with rehearsal, repetition, experience. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm sure that that's a common thing backstage, is the people who are the most nervous and they're looking over.
People that are pumping up 30 minutes before stepping on stage, an hour.
Yeah. And I'm wondering the whole time, like, is the side eye because you're worried that they may beat you, or is the side eye because you're thinking about that
what
cheeseburger?
If I did this? Yeah.
I had that cheeseburger that one day 10 weeks ago, and that messed me up. Like, when you went and won the national championship, you left no doubt in your mind, not in everybody else's mind. Everybody was side-eyeing you because you were competing with you. And that's something I've said in another podcast. When you're in competition with you, you always win to some extent. You either win or you learn. And so, like, how many clients have you peaked that have had that same mentality going in that kind of you had before that competition? Or do you have the one, or I guess, is it more common that you have clients that are backstage that are constantly, that person looks good, I'm going to be competing against them, how do I stand up against them? And you really probably shouldn't do that, but is it one way or another?
It is one of the most challenging things in my position as a coach. I have to be honest about that, because being able to gauge someone's realistic expectations and what they're trying to achieve. Like, I have a lot of clients, it's their first show.
Yeah.
And going in is like
nerves.
All nerves. They don't know how the order of events, the tanning, skin prep, everything that really goes into it, all the extracurricular stuff. It's not just working out, doing your cardio, eating your meals. And then when I'm making those fine-tune adjustments and saying, hey, the work is done, you need to relax, it's hard. It's very hard for them to let go and trust. Even though they've been trusting and executing all the way up to that point. It's their first show. So it is very, very tough to, like, be in this position and just be real with them and say, hey, focus on just bringing the best conditioning that you can. And this is the best physique that you've ever, and this is the first time you've been in front of these judges, in front of a panel. Your presentation, I still expect to be one of the best on stage, because we put so much focus on that. Focus on what you can control. Yeah. You can't control what the judges, who they place above you, and, and muscle tissue. It just takes time. It's your first show, especially my younger guys that are competing. But because I've gone through it, because they can relate to me, because I've had my fair share of failures, shortcomings, but stayed with it, and I understand the time and work it takes. So it's a lot easier for me to convey that and relate that to them and be like, dude, I didn't place top 5 in my class, not in the entire show, in my class, my first show. And I had a 4-year degree in exercise science. I had a big head. This is when you first met me.
Big head.
Yeah.
Big head. Walk through the door.
I do have literally a gourd.
Throw the money at me. That's how he was. That's how he was when he walked in.
Coming in as like the best trainer around out of ECU. That's just I felt at the time, and it was entitled to that. So my first show, prepping myself and going in, and I got my ass handed to me. Yeah. But that ignited a fire. I really want to learn more from this. Yeah.
And that's the point when you were like, I need help. Because it's not just about what you can accomplish.
And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, because if you have something that you really are passionate about doing, and you have the means to continue investing into your success, why wouldn't you surround yourself with the best team possible?
Exactly.
When we set out to start this consulting business that really has turned more into a lifestyle coaching business. We didn't set out for that.
No, it just happened that way.
We still do consulting, but that's not our primary focus, and we've had to adapt and shift to it. But I would not have been able to do this without your guidance and your knowledge and experience and having the system set in place. So we talked about, I had a recent discussion with Mike on Instagram Live, Mike Rattini, owner of Unchained Physiques. And pretty much we talked about how it was starting with that business.
And that was, this kind of takes us off a topic a little bit, but I definitely wanted to say that I watched that live show, and Mike and I have somewhat of a similar journey. Outside of
very parallel.
Outside of the sheer level of money making, I guess we'll say that. The sheer peaks and valleys of revenue.
But without the formal college education.
Exactly. We definitely, like, I had a much more, I would say I've had a much more stable career. He's taken much bigger risks than I have. And he's seen, this is all based off on, I believe it was on, where could they go see that?
It's at the Unchained Physiques Instagram page, and it's saved to the live videos.
Okay, so you can go check that out as well if you wanted to see this. And so he talked about how, he'd moved up and he took big risks and saw big payouts, but then saw huge downfalls. And so that's the level of risk that I never really jumped into until we started this, right? So I've worked for bigger corporations, but as far as like where we started, I didn't go to college. College just wasn't my thing. And based off of what he was saying, I totally related to that on his level is, and I think I even commented like hashtag independently educated.
Yeah.
Because I always call myself independently educated, and I learn very well from experience and doing my own research and things of that nature. Like I'm constantly trying to learn. But it wasn't like a formal education like most people would expect. However, I feel like most people can't get the level of education that I have without going through the good and bad times that I've had as well.
No way. And starting out, I don't mean to cut you off, but same with you and Mike. If you started out, he said, I just would take anything that was going to be offered to me. It's the same thing as you when you got done from mowing grass and you came in there, and
exactly
that was the look you had. Whatever they give me, I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it. But if you would have started off like comparing, well, look at my peers or look at people that do have the college accolades and degrees and certifications, letters behind their names. You started comparing from the very beginning, not focusing, having the horse blinders on, and say, okay, this is the step. Okay, I want to be front desk, go into sales, and I want to work on the floor, personal training manager, GM, like moving your way up. And I saw that
same. We saw such similar start points to moving up inside of good organizations, and we're very, like, I was very I don't say taken back by that, but I was very inspired that somebody as successful as Mike has a very similar start story to kind of how I did as well, because I have a lot of respect for Mike and what he's accomplished, and like I said, he's taken much bigger risks and seen, I would say, if you looked at like our careers, he's seen much bigger peaks and valleys than I have. He's seen much bigger peaks and much lower valleys, and I've kind of stabilized where
I met with him really when he was going through one of those valleys and then entering into a very competitive market with Unchained Physiques, who came out of nowhere and is like, within 6 years, and we're pretty much producing Olympians. Wouldn't have seen it from the very beginning, but he had a vision. He stuck to it. He built the team.
And I mean, that's
the right people in the right places.
Inspiring to me off of what we've started here is that, we talk all the time about we're just going to take it opportunity by opportunity, and that was a good thing for me to hear in y'all's live show. And I know that kind of gets us off topic a little bit with what we were talking about.
We always go off tangent, but
I mean, it doesn't as well as, your success can be an inspiration for others, because you can't look at somebody else, what somebody else's success. I mean, I've had I've had, dozens and dozens of people that worked under me that had bachelor's and master's degrees in whatever they were doing. And they struggled because more often than not, it wasn't the education level, it was the level of entitlement that caused them to struggle, is because I've constantly gotten, well, you don't have a college degree. Well, no, I don't, but I have experience. You don't have experience. While you were sitting paying thousands of dollars for a sheet of paper, I was out gaining experience, and I learned how to adapt and how to work with people, because ultimately my focus has always been people and networking, making sure that I surrounded myself with strong people, or that I saw success. But I guess kind of bringing us back into whatever your specific journey is, whether it be, business success or personal success, like
even your
started off
setbacks
with.
can be inspiring.
Exactly.
If you overcome them.
Exactly, because it's important. Continue moving forward. It's important to put those out there, if for no other reason than sheer awareness. If I have a client who's on a plan and they're constantly struggling, and they're just pretending like that's not happening. One, you're not being real with yourself. One, you're not being real with me. Two, you're not going to really be a true inspiration. You're going to really struggle for anybody to relate to you. There are a lot of Instagram influencers that are out there that make it look like super easy. They have struggles. They've gone through some stuff, and they put out the good stuff on there, but the ones who really inspire are the people who talk about, here's where I'm struggling. It wasn't easy. The ones who say, oh, it was super easy.
Sometimes
I don't understand.
Being transparent when they're going through it at that time.
Absolutely. It's important.
Don't underestimate who you can really
and it's not easy. It's not easy to live a healthy lifestyle, because especially in our country, it's not made easy. It's made to be more difficult. And we could get into the climate of that at some other time, but it's made to be, it's made to be more difficult than it is, because everything's processed foods, and access now to fitness and exercise is at an all-time high, but distractions are at an all-time high as well. And so it's like, here, use this, except we're going to show you this as well, and we're going to show you this as well, and that's going to distract you, and we're going to confuse you. There's a lot of confusion out there as well, and so you have to, sometimes you need somebody to help you. And I love working with all my clients, and sometimes it's easier. Some clients are a little easier than others, and they totally trust, and sometimes it's overcoming a lot of what you think
Allow us to sift through the BS.
Because it's
put that aside.
It's a tough
it's
battle.
A lot simpler than what people make it, but it's just because they have had so much, lack of success leading up to it, that they, it's hard for them to really entrust us with what we're telling them to do.
And I mean, you're all in, but always keep in mind, and I think that this is a much more powerful motivator than you wanting to hit your goals, is think about all the people that are watching, especially when people want you to fail, right? Like, to me, knowing somebody like wants me to fail is enough sometimes to go, oh, I'm gonna show you. But then not only that, is the people who look to you once you get there and say, wow, you accomplished a lot, and I know you went through a lot, and I know that was difficult, but you still did it. That means I can. And that's something that I think most people take for granted, is they get so fixated on their own journey that they are not thinking about everybody else who's probably looking at them and going, that's who's inspiring me. And you may not even know it, and you may never know it. That's the thing, is you may never know that they're looking to figure that stuff out.
And sometimes it's the hardest thing to do, is to work hard when nobody is watching.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like you said, people are watching, you don't even know it.
Yeah, they don't, and they're in a lot of times. Let that be your fuel. Yeah, let it be the fuel. Let it be your fire that kind of keeps you going, because whatever you're doing, as long as you're doing something, you're ahead of most people already. And so And anybody who wants to see you fail is probably more discouraged with their own failure than they are yours. They're just hoping that you fail so that you can be right beside them. But ultimately, think about even if it's just, I usually think it's like, there may be one person watching me journey, just like, wow, I can't believe he's accomplished in 1 year. Imagine what I could accomplish. Maybe it takes them a while, but at some point you could be that inspiration to change their life. And maybe just the inspiration of them just losing a few pounds could mean a healthier heart, a healthier body, longer life, better quality of life for that one person. It may have a much bigger impact on them than just looking good in a bathing suit, right? And that's where usually most people start, but it's those unintended benefits that usually are the ones that outweigh the other part, the aesthetic look. So anything to wrap us up?
I know we've been a little infrequent with our uploads, guys. We got a ton of videos in the bank, a ton of content still coming your way. We're actually having a little meetup with our content creator and editor. So a lot of exciting content to come out. Jonathon, I know you mentioned earlier that you are kind of getting booked with your lifestyle client coaching.
Yeah,
Things are going great.
It's going great.
We still have some spaces available, guys, but first come, first serve.
That's right.
On Jonathon is information below. But we're really excited to continue bringing you guys more content. So make sure you comment down below. Let us know what you want to see more of. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Everybody take it easy. Later. Next time.